What's up? It's Dynast. At the end of this video, make sure you go to www.dynastamir.com. Check out our indigenous African fashion, jewelry, clothing, etc. Check it out. Go to Amazon.com, search the name Dynastamir, buy a book, made them affordable so you could buy them. And then also go to searchforahuru.com and donate towards our documentary that we're shooting, and also learn more information about the actual project that we're working on, the documentary. I want to lead into this video with the situation that just happened in Brazil in regards to the Olympic swimmers who lied about being robbed at gunpoint, but in reality they went into a convenience store, they vandalized it, they defecated and pissed, not in the actual bathroom, but in the convenience store itself. They got into an altercation with the security guard, who obviously the security guard was trying to get them the hell out of there. But instead, they got into a physical altercation with the security guard. Then, once they know they messed up, they tried to, because they were drunk, obviously, they were fucked up. And when they knew they fucked up, they tried to bribe the actual convenience store owner, and that didn't work. So they're dumbasses. They go and file a police report that they were robbed at gunpoint, which was a lie, which makes no sense. That just shows you how drunk they were, or high. You can't be that drunk to go and commit a crime, vandalize a convenience store, and then go file a police report. Go to the police and say that you were robbed at gunpoint. One of the swimmers, I believe his name is Ryan Lochte, or Lachey, I don't know, Lachey, Ryan Lochte, something like that. He got away. I think he's probably back in America. But the other swimmers, when they tried to leave Brazil, they were actually detained, passports confiscated, and they're going to be indicted and possibly face prison time in Brazil, which I say good for Brazil. Lock them up. If they're going to disrespect the laws of the land and lie, they deserve to spend some time in prison in a prison in Rio de Janeiro. They deserve it. So good for you, Brazil. And then earlier this week, you had a situation, or the week before, you had a situation in Iran. So it was revealed that there were Americans, U.S. citizens in Iran, who were accused of spying, who I think they served like 6 months to a year in prison, who were recently released not too long ago, and $400 million was given to Iran as ransom. Oh, I'm sorry, used as leverage, because I guess America owed Iran $400 million, so they used that as leverage to release them. So again, these U.S. citizens broke the law, and rightfully so, they were arrested. Then you have the situation in North Korea, where American missionaries were going to North Korea, I guess accused of spying. And now, and for the life of me, why would you go to North Korea? Out of all places to be a missionary, why would you go to North Korea? But anyway, so and now they are spending 10 years in prison, 10 years hard labor. And I said good for North Korea. Lock them up. If people are going to come into your country and disrespect you and your rules and your laws, they deserve to be locked up. And then you had a situation in Saudi Arabia where two females, I think they were U.S. contractors, they were, I guess, allegedly got caught with marijuana. And now they're in jail in Saudi Arabia. So they broke the law, and now they're spending time in a prison in Saudi Arabia. But meanwhile, in Africa, you have a guy, his name was Matthew, I believe his name is Matthew Durham. Let me make sure. I believe his name was Matthew Durham. Let me look this up. Missionary Matthew Lane Durham. A missionary in Kenya, molests kids in Kenya as young as the ages of 4. But was weird compared to the other stories or situations I just shared with you, he's not locked up in a Kenyan prison. He had the opportunity to go home to Oklahoma, have a long, lengthy trial where they actually had to fly the Kenyans in who testified against them, the actual kids, to Oklahoma, and now he's spending he's spending his time in prison. He was found guilty, and now he's locked up in an Oklahoma prison. And for the life of me, and try to help me out, Africans, if you're watching this, African leaders, if you're watching this, how can somebody a foreigner, come into your country posing as a missionary, molest your children, and why is that person not given a death penalty in Kenya or buried under a Kenyan prison or serving hard labor in a Kenyan prison for the rest of his life? How do they escape that? You have these foreign firms who are illegally fishing off the coast of East and West Africa. They get a slap on the wrist if they're caught. They're not locked up and spending the rest of their lives in a prison. You have these foreign firms who are illegally mining in Africa. When they get caught, they get a slap on the wrist, and they're not illegal, and they're not spending the rest of their lives rotting in a prison. But everyone else gets it. They don't care who you are. If you break the law in their country, you're going to jail. But for some reason, when foreigners come to Africa, it's like, slap on the wrist. Or, they get to go back to America and have a long, lengthy trial. Let me ask you this. In the situation in Iran and Saudi Arabia, do you think they had a long, lengthy trial? In Brazil, do you think they're going to have a long, lengthy trial? In North Korea, do you think they have a long, lengthy trial? They're found guilty, and they serve their time. If the evidence is there that they're found guilty, they go to jail. But in Africa, you can do what you want if you're a foreigner, and you get to have a long, lengthy trial at home. They got to inconvenience you Africans. You got to fly to them to testify. When this Matthew Durham guy, should be buried under a Kenyan prison, serving hard labor for the rest of his life. And then you had the situation with the French soldiers in, I think it was Central African Republic, and in Mali, who are molesting kids. I don't know what it is with these European foreigners and molesting kids. And you know what? They're not found guilty, or they're not serving prison time in an African prison. Guess what? They get to go home, and they were found not guilty. And I guarantee you, they're still French soldiers. But during colonialism, when the Europeans illegally occupied and invaded many parts of Africa, and we'll deal with South Africa and Kenya, during apartheid in South Africa, when the apartheid government arrested Nelson Mandela, they had his ass in Robben Island, walking around. They feminized him. Damn near took away his manhood. Had him walking around in little shorts. Reduced him to nothing for damn near 30, 40 years. And then in Kenya, the British, with the Mau Mau, they did the same thing to them. So when foreigners invade Africa, and the indigenous, you see how they treat the indigenous Africans. But then when foreigners come to Africa, break the law, post-colonialism, post-apartheid, Africans don't do anything to them. They let them do whatever they want. They might give them a slap on the wrist, and that's it. That's it. They're not spending the rest of their lives. They're not rotting in an African prison. That's why this video is called "Everyone Else's Laws Are Respected Except for African Laws," because Africans don't enforce them when it comes to foreigners. Then you had a situation in Kenya. It was a Chinese restaurant, and the Chinese had the audacity to tell the Kenyans that we're not going to serve black people in an African country. Now, I believe the restaurant got shut down But these guys should be in a prison and made an example, and should be rotting in a prison right now as we speak. But again, you got these foreign firms who illegally mine and illegally fish, and nothing happens to them. You know, Africans might say, "Don't do it again," but they're not rotting in a prison. They're stealing they're stealing the natural resources from Africa, but nothing happens to them. They get off scot-free, a slap on the wrist. You have these missionaries and soldiers who are supposed to be spreading the gospel and protecting Africans, molesting kids, and nothing happens to them. They're not rotting in an African prison or given a death penalty. They either let go or they're spending time in jail in America. And the way how corrupt and how dirty America is, you know, this guy might get out in 10 years. He might serve 10 years. He might be free. So what Africa has to do is look at North Korea, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Brazil, and follow their example that if you're a foreigner, we don't care where you're from, if you come to Africa, you break the law, you're going to serve time in prison in Africa. You're not going to be extradited to America. You're going to serve time in a nasty, dirty, rat-infested prison in Africa. And that's what needs to be done. That's what needs to be done. So again, like I said, everyone else's laws are respected except for African laws, because African leaders will let foreigners come to Africa and do whatever they want and not do anything to them. Everything goes unpunished. Or if they are punished, it's a slap on the wrist. And that needs to stop. So again, African leaders, punish these foreigners. Make an example out of them if they come and disrespect you and break the law in Africa. Follow me on Instagram, Dynast Amir, and also Amir Dynast. Follow me on Facebook, Dynast Amir. Go to Twitter, Amir Dynasty is my personal site. Dynast Amir is the fashion line. I'm out.